Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's live stream AMA. We're going to go through some stuff. If you guys saw Luke's long post on X the other day, we're going to talk about all of that stuff. So get your questions ready. Throw them in the YouTube live chat or the Twitter live chat, not comments, live chat. And let's keep it farmer friendly. Let's have a good time. And I don't think my mic is set up perfectly. Guys, there's always something, you know. Okay, do I sound better now? All right, let's bring up Luke.
Hey guys. Excited to have this AMA today because this is kind of big. I think this is more of a pivotal moment in Pixels right now, right? So these are steps that we've been basically, kind of signaling for the last month or so, right? I'll give an update on where basically everything is at, staking, and kind of go over some of the key strategic changes inside of Pixels. Like I said, good markets hide a lot of flaws in particular companies' fundamentals, right? And bad markets start to expose them. And what's great is Pixel's team, I know we haven't done everything right over the last year or two, right? But we've also, because we've done a lot of things wrong, gotten to make a lot of improvements towards actually solving the fundamentals of play to earn gaming, right? The reality of Web3 gaming is that we're still a lot earlier than people realize, but we're so much further along than where Web3 gaming was at 5 years ago. I see some negative Nancy's on Twitter being like, Web3 gaming hasn't changed at all in the last 5 years. And that is just so wrong, right? I've been watching Web3 gaming for the last 5 years. I saw CryptoKitties happen. My friends minted CryptoKitties. They're not minted, but like they were like early buyers in CryptoKitties, right? We saw Axie come up, right? Even Axie 5 years ago versus now is insane, right? And we're getting closer and closer to actually figuring out how to make Web3 games work now, right? And in order for that to happen, teams have to mess up and make mistakes, right? So one of the interesting things about Pixels, it's good and it's bad, right? Is we've been able to revamp the entire game economy several times now. We had completely off-chain game economy at first, then we introduced Berry, then we introduced like a bunch of tweaks around Berry, then we introduced Pixel, then we introduced, chapter 2, chapter 2.5. And all these were steps to kind of get to actually solving play to earn. And there's still a lot of work to get there. But we're kind of changing some of the strategy moving forward to like better do this basically. If you saw, I actually made a tweet and a long post about some of these changes that we're making.
I've pinned it to the live chat on YouTube, so you can directly click on it.
Great. On Sunday. I actually don't see this ID.
You won't see it on our side.
On YouTube.
YouTube will see it, but I can share it. I have it here if you want.
Yeah, we'll share it. But like, you guys can read it. I'll just kind of walk through exactly what we're thinking here. So I think you're sharing the wrong thing, Heidi. Here,
what? What's going on?
You're sharing the intro video instead by accident. But yeah, here's the high level strategy changes, right? So last week we implemented a somewhat controversial feature. We started gating a lot of the marketplace access to only VIP, right? And that led to a DAU drop, right? And that was somewhat intentional. One of the things we've noticed is, what do people respond to inside of Web3 gaming, right? One of the things that Pixels have become known for is very high daily active addresses, right? But the thing is, that wasn't really doing anything for us, and that daily active address narrative actually wasn't really serving Pixels at all, right? Like some of the daily active addresses were bots. Some of them were players who actually didn't really care about the long term of Pixels. And then some of those were free-to-play players that we've actually churned, which is an issue. We'll kind of dive into what we're thinking about with that. But yeah, the key focus, and that was the first step of those changes, was daily active addresses is not a very good metric inside of crypto games right now at all. Nobody really cares about the metric externally. Like nobody cares that Pixels had high DAA, right? When you think about, what market was talking about with us, how market responds to everything, like our DAA is down, but we've had inverse performance to that, right? So the focus moving forward is actually going to be on quality DAU and rebuilding a DAU user base, or a DAU that's actually higher quality, right? And when we talk about high quality DAU, what I mean is, like, we want people who love the game. We want people who are willing to use the token in game, or who want to hold the token as well too. There's different types of players inside of Web3 gaming, right? Some of them are good for the ecosystem, and some of them actually don't have the ecosystem's best interest in mind. And it's not their fault, right? How I view Web3 gaming, and you'll see it later down into this tweet, is I kind of view there being like 3 to 4 parts of building an amazing Web3 game now. The first being the game has to be fun, and the game has to be something that players want to be playing and spending on and enjoying their time in, comparable to Web2 games. Like, that has to be the foundation of everything. If you talk about like a pyramid of things that need to work inside of Web3 games to actually make a Web3 game work, that is the foundation. That's the base. You can't make a Web3 game work without basically making the game fun and people wanting to play the game, right? Now, the other part that's really important is you need to make sure that the mechanics inside of the game actually favor the long-term interest of the game too. One interesting note is we started looking into the data a lot more in the last couple of months, and there's really no reason to stay in the Pixels ecosystem long term right now, right? Or at least there wasn't. And actually, what we would see is basically almost all of the earnings that we were giving the users were getting immediately sold, right? Which is some value add to the player, right? Play to earn is awesome. It's powerful, and it's one of the best features inside of Web3 games. And I think it's the killer feature that makes Web3 games competitive against Web2 games. However, if you go too far in that direction too, it actually hurts the people that believe in the ecosystem in the long term. So there's going to be some key strategic changes where we're actually going to start to preference players who want to stay inside of the ecosystem and use the token inside of the game and hold the token as well, over the players that just want to sell the token immediately, essentially. It's a change in strategy, and there's kind of like a middle ground between the two, right? We're not abandoning play to earn. I love play to earn, but we also want to favor the players inside of the game and the ecosystem who want to be here for the long term. And I know when we say this, this is going to make some of the players who are more in that mindset leave. And it's going to be a little bit of short-term pain. But the idea is we want to build a player base of players who actually want to stay inside of the ecosystem, who love the games inside the Pixel ecosystem, and who actually want to be using the token inside the ecosystem too. So there's going to be 2 strategy changes with that. One is we're going to keep doing the targeted earnings tech that we've been doing, right? So the targeted earnings and the smart task board, all of these, we're changing some of the strategy here in the long run, where we've been doing smart earnings in some ways, right? We preference users who spend the token inside of the game, who are leveling up further inside of the game. There's still some short-term tweaks that need to happen there to make that as effective as it could be. Like, one of the common criticisms with our smart earnings right now is actually it looks like there's some misbalance there, where even sometimes lower level players are earning more than higher level players. That's not supposed to happen. That's actually a weakness in the system right now. And we're going to be prioritizing changes to actually make sure that works, right? So the smart task board, all of this kind of stuff, sometimes it doesn't feel as smart to you guys as it should. One reason for that is because the actual task board system is a semi-complicated system. It's very tied into the core game loop. What we're going to do is we're going to do all the tweaks that we need to on the current task board system as needed in the short term. This should only take like a week or 2 to fix. And then the next set of things too is we're actually going to start to introduce a new earning system that's going to be a lot more targeted and a lot simpler for us to give out earnings inside of the game. Essentially, it's going to be more like a quest board, more like if you know Web2, an offer system. Web2 offers are something that was kind of really pioneered by Scopely and some other Web2 gaming companies. But we think we can add a Web3 twist to it too. So essentially what we're going to be doing is basically building out a system that kind of hyper targets either ads, rewards, or discounts and purchase opportunities to players as well. That way we have tighter control over earnings, so we can actually give them out more effectively to the right types of people than the task board system is right now. The task board is a good system, but it can't be the only system inside of the game. And that'll also be another focus that we'll dive into too. Like, how do we make the game better, quicker? How do we complete core game loops? All this kind of stuff. Another thing that we're going to be adding too is we're going to be adding in a new type of reward inside of the game. We're going to be introducing a new token called vPixel. vPixel, it's awesome. I'm very excited about what it's going to unlock because we can actually give out more rewards more effectively with vPixel. And essentially what we're going to be doing is vPixel will be backed one-to-one with Pixel. So if you want to spend vPixel, it'll be the exact same purchasing power, staking power, all of that as normal Pixel. It'll be kind of fungible when it comes to spend and staking with actual normal Pixel. But this token vPixel will be spend or stake only. So essentially how it's going to work is when you go to withdraw Pixel tokens now, and this will actually go live. Well, the vPixel token won't go live for about 4 weeks. It's getting built out right now, but the withdrawal fees, or I think we're going to call it something else. Heidi, what are we calling it?
Give me 1 second. I need to make sure the decision was what I'm remembering.
Yeah, we're going to call it. Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody's saying vPixel OTC. So
oh, I think it's a farmer fee. I think, okay, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna be calling it farmer fees.
Farmer fee? I think that's it.
Yeah, when you go to withdraw Pixel, you'll have 2 options basically. You'll be able to withdraw normal Pixel, and you'll have to pay a farmer fee on normal Pixel withdrawal. It's going to be kind of aggressive. I'm not going to lie. But that Pixel will be able to be sold and be able to be used in the same way that you use normal Pixel right now. Or if you want to withdraw vPixel, it'll be an app token. And this token will be different. You won't be able to sell the vPixel token. It'll actually be spend only or stake only, but it'll have the same purchasing power as a normal Pixel because we're going to back it one-to-one with real Pixel basically. So all of your vPixel will be worth the same as 1 Pixel in any single game. Basically, you can treat vPixel or your normal Pixel the same when you go to spend it. It'll be worth the same exact amount. But it's going to be an app token. So the app token has some special functionality behind it. You won't be able to wrap it. You won't be able to do anything with it besides spend or stake it, basically. So what's nice about this token is actually we can give it out more aggressively even than normal Pixel. And it'll actually be really good for the economics of the game too. So players who actually want to spend the token will be rewarded for that reason because there will be no farmer fee on withdrawing the vPixel token, and then you'll be able to go and use it in staking on chain if you want, or in any of the partner games like Pixel Dungeons or Forgotten Runes, or any of the other ones that we're going to be adding inside of the ecosystem too when staking goes live, which there is some cool stuff coming with that. So the other cool thing too, though, is if you have an in-game balance of Pixel, we're going to be staking it on your behalf. Basically, what we're going to be doing is the Pixels team will be essentially staking the balance of in-game Pixel. There's going to be some requirements on it. Like we might have to have you hold 100 Pixel in game. I think we might require a login this month so we can give out more rewards to the active players in the game. But yeah, we'll basically be giving out in-game staking distributions, or like kind of the equivalent, or basically bonuses for having in-game balance. If you have the in-game balance of Pixel, right? So if your balance is in game, it's already staked. You don't have to do anything, essentially. Now, the cool thing, too, is we're going to give a boost to players who own the Farmland NFT for having their in-game balance as well. We'll release the formula this week, ideally. What we're going to do is we're basically going to be adding a % boost to your in-game balance when it comes to the staking rewards. And there will be kind of like a max cap on the staking balance, too. So there'll be a new concept in game. This won't be the same concept out of game if you go stake. If you go out of game and stake your tokens, basically how the rewards will be distributed is just % staked. In game, it's going to work a little bit differently, where if you have your in-game tokens staked or just like in-game balance, you'll get a boost. I think it'll be anywhere from like 5 to 10% per land, TBD on the exact number. And then there will be a like max amount of staking power that you get per land too. We'll release this publicly. There won't be like any behind the scenes magic. You'll know exactly like what your land will get you when it comes to in-game staking. But it'll be like a bit more of a convoluted metric basically. So the reality is also, just to be completely transparent, if you have your in-game balance staked, your APR, if you have no land, will probably be lower if you have your balance staked in-game versus on-chain. This is where that vPixel token is quite important, because if you want to basically just stake your vPixel on-chain and get a better yield, you'll have that option to do that when vPixel goes live. That'll be in about like I'm estimating 4 weeks for vPixel to go live. We have a partner working on it right now to go and implement it. And yeah, so if you
There
have
was
to,
some. Oh, sorry.
yeah, so the staking, just to clarify too, yes. So the staking bonuses from in-game land will stack per land. It does not make sense to have like, cap your staking bonuses at like 5 lands or 10 lands. Like basically however many lands that you own, it'll increase the percent, but basically the max percent that you'll get will cap out too. So there's a little bit of balance, because if we give too much of a bonus to land, basically land will get only, like they'll get all the in-game yield, and you don't want that either. But there will be a bonus. So like how it's going to work basically is like you'll get a bonus on a pixel that you stake percent wise, that'll stack up, but then each land will have a max amount of staking power that you get essentially. I think what we're thinking is it'll be somewhere between like, 50 to 100,000 pixel worth of staking power, essentially, anywhere from that range. We'll get the exact numbers later this week. We're kind of doing some of the modeling to make sure that it's fair to people that still have in-game balance as well. But yeah, that'll be kind of the intention. With staking, land rarity won't matter, to be honest, as well too. We'll just go based on actual NFT lands that you hold. But if we did a max cap for like number of lands, like it wouldn't make sense. You would basically have to like, what we would see then is essentially like, unlike reputation, we would see people creating multiple accounts to go stake. Doesn't make sense to do that. Number of lands won't be capped.
There was a really good question just to like clarify how this whole system will work. So will you still be able to get pixel on the task board, or where is vPixel going to be given?
So in-game pixel, your vPixel or your normal pixel will still be the same. You're only going to have one in-game balance of pixel. So in-game, pixel is pixel, right? Now, vPixel is just something that's different on-chain, essentially, right? And you'll have the choice when you go to withdraw your tokens if you want to take in vPixel or if you want to take in normal pixel, right? So it's really up to you on what you get. Now, somebody also asked, staking vPixel will give pixel or vPixel as yield. Right now, the plan is to give most of the staking yield as normal pixel. But one thing that we could do is we could honestly probably increase yield if we also give some vPixel too. Because think about it from the ecosystem perspective. Like vPixel is actually much more powerful when it comes to aligning ecosystem goals. And that'll be some of the balance that we play around in core pixels of what rewards that we give out. We plan on giving out majority of like normal pixel. Honestly, when staking goes live originally, the only rewards from staking will be normal pixel, not vPixel. But in the future, it might make sense to give out some normal pixel and some vPixel to users as well. But when staking goes live, the rewards from staking will just be normal pixel. So you can go and stake your vPixel or your normal pixel. They'll be fungible because they're backed one-to-one, right? Your vPixel will be worth the same as a normal pixel. So if you go to withdraw your tokens, if you wanted to just stake your tokens, it would really make sense to just withdraw a vPixel because you don't have to pay a farmer fee, right? If you pay a farmer fee, you'll actually have less stuff to go and stake. But if you just withdraw vPixel, there will be no farmer fee that you have to pay, and you'll have more staking power, essentially, if you were to go to stake on chain. So right now, there will not be a conversion from vPixel to normal pixel on chain, but I do think it makes sense to have that on chain. We'll probably have that go live shortly after vPixel goes on chain. But right now, if you were wanting to swap your vPixel into normal pixel, what you would do is you would go and redeposit pixel and then withdraw and pay the farmer fee. But that makes sense to have that mechanic on chain too. That farmer fee will probably be adjusted based on a bunch of different, macro factors, right? So expect the farmer fee to be kind of variable over the long run, and have some adjustments. Now, what I will say is when the farmer fees go live, it'll be next week when staking goes live. We'll kind of dive into like where it's at right now. They'll be high if I'm being completely transparent and honest. But again, when vPixel goes live, you won't have to pay those fees to go out and do that. And remember too, your in-game balance will be staked. So if you are just interested in staking right now, I would just keep your balance in game. And then if you want to stake your in-game balance on chain, well, one, maybe withdraw your in-game balance now if you want to stake it on chain when it goes live next week, or like wait for vPixel to come. If you have land, probably makes sense to keep your balance in game now because you'll have that boost, right? But you also can move your pixel back into the game when staking goes live if you want, and there's no fee for deposit, right? So
Do you
for
want to
free,
answer this question? Yeah.
yeah,
Go on. Never mind.
for free players that want to stake still, you can earn and stake, but you don't have land. Yeah, you can still go and stake essentially. There will be a boost for owning land, but also key note here, you will not get pixel just for owning land for staking rewards. You need to also stake pixel, or you need to have a pixel balance as well too, right? So you will get more staking power if you own land in game for having that in-game balance. But if you have 0 pixel in land, that will not give you any staking rewards. It'll basically make the staking of pixel in game more powerful, but you still need to have a pixel balance in order to receive any staking rewards. That's the idea there.
Yeah. Okay. So vPixels is like normal pixels. Why would we use it? So you get funds from fees.
So vPixel basically will be an option if you want to go and stake the token, or if you want to go and spend it in other games and not pay any farmer fee. That's the idea, right? So if you want to use the token in game or in Forgotten Runes, or if you want to go stake it, you basically get more of it to go out and do those things, right? Otherwise, you will have to pay the farmer fee when you go to withdraw the token, right? But in game, it's the exact same and it's fungible with Pixel. So essentially, say that you want to go and use the token in Pixel Dungeons, for example. If you were to withdraw normal Pixel, you would have less of it to go and spend in Pixel Dungeons. But if you have vPixel, you'll have more Pixel if you want to withdraw it, right? So you'll get to go and spend it more. Or you'll get to stake more of it, right? Because you just have more of it because you haven't paid that farmer fee. That's the idea. So basically, like really the high level here is there's kind of like a fee on liquidity of the Pixel token now from the in-game earnings. So if you want to maximize your in-game earnings from staking or from basically anything else, having more vPixel will probably be advantageous, right? And again, the initial staking rewards will be in normal Pixel. So if you go and stake your vPixel, you'll be able to earn normal Pixel from staking.
All right. Backtracking a little bit, do you want to explain what app tokens are?
Yeah, so app tokens, they're kind of new. We're actually going to be the first game to go out and integrate app tokens. So nobody in the space has done this yet. But app tokens are something that were invented by Limit Break. If you know Limit Break, it's that game and NFT collection DigiDaiku. The founder of Limit Break and the CEO, his name is Gabriel Layden. He made the game Machine Zone. He's an absolute legend in Web2 gaming. And extremely successful in Web2 gaming, right? They raised $200 million to go out and build in Web3 gaming. And they've actually been creating a ton of public goods for Web3. They introduced ERC 721C first. ERC 721C is that NFT collection type, or that new NFT contract that basically makes royalties enforced. And I think something like 80% of new NFTs now are now ERC 721C. Basically, one of the key issues inside of Web3 gaming is how do you make sure that game users and network are all aligned, right? There's this weird thing going on with normal ERC 721s where basically most people are skipping the royalty fees, right? And maybe that's semi good for users, but actually it kind of isn't, because what that does is that separates alignment from the game, the network, and the users too, right? One of the coolest parts about NFTs in the early stages were the royalty fees, if you remember that, right? Because what that did was it allowed game creators, artists, all of this to be able to monetize secondary sales, and it actually created an incentive alignment between game, ecosystem, and users to go out and make sure that like everything was properly taken care of in the long run, right? When royalty fees were kind of removed from the ecosystem because of Blur and other platforms like that, volumes dropped a ton inside of any NFT collection, and it also created a misalignment between game, user, and all of this too. So ERC20C, that's what an app token is basically this new standard for ERC20s as well, which adds in more rules that you can add to ERC20s. So essentially what the app token is, you can do some crazy stuff with them. We're going to have a kind of stripped back version of it early on, where essentially we can add a new in-game token where you can only spend or stake it. Those are going to be the rules that we add on to it. So again, we can play around with like some very new, interesting types of rewards with that. And we can basically also create better network incentives as well too. Essentially what we can do is we can start to give out more rewards to people who want to hold and spend the token rather than the ones who just want to sell the token, right? Like that's going to be the key unlock for Pixels using the app token. And the really cool thing about that too is the farmer fees that are going to be generated when people go and withdraw Pixel in the normal sense will be given back to players who are staking the token, right? We talk about this a lot inside of the gaming ecosystem of like, Pixels generating revenue, right? Like Pixels generated 20 million US dollar equivalent in revenue in 2024, right? And all that went to community treasury. Community treasury, I know we probably have some questions about that. There's a DAO getting established right now that will manage community treasury. But moving forward, there's going to be a little bit different of a strategy with where in-game rewards are sent in community treasury and all this too. Actually, moving forward, the community treasury has accumulated a ton of Pixel. I think it's something like, it might be like over 80 million Pixel right now. Plan is still to basically have a DAO govern that. That's getting set up right now. There's like a bit of legal that needs to get done to actually have a DAO take over community treasury. But again, it's moving, promise. But moving forward, most of the in-game economic activity will instead be sent to stakers a bit more real time. So rather than having stakers do governance or all of that of fees getting generated by the network moving forward, we're going to be sending most of the fees generated from network activity towards players who are helping basically decide the future of Pixels through our staking system coming out.
Okay, do you want to hop back to continue discussing the tweet? So moving forward from this point?
Yeah. So then the other focus too is going to be all around gameplay moving forward as well. And there's going to be some strategic shifts in how we approach the features that we're building, how we build the game, and focusing more on the long term too. And this is really important because again, Web3 gaming doesn't work unless the game is good, people love it, and it's in the right spot. So one of the key issues with where the current game is at right now is we've been doing this build in public approach, right? And we've been doing a lot of short-term fixes and features that are oriented towards, kind of fixing in-game issues and like kind of making progress week on week. There's important stuff that still needs to happen there. But essentially, if you want to know some of how the sausage is made, is, internally, we're kind of switching our strategy and how we build. So we're kind of separating and building a little bit differently than we have before. And the focus is we're kind of going to shift into two teams inside of the game team. One will be kind of still focusing on some of the shorter term economic fixes that we have been doing, but a larger focus internally inside of the team is we're actually going to be focused on completing core game loops quicker, rather than kind of doing this like meandering building where we, add some new features like a merchant shifts or something like that. The real approach, and like one of the things that's been the most painful part of the game over the last year and a half, is there's no features that actually complete the core game loop. Like the key question in Pixels right now is we have a good crafting loop, right? Like when you go and play the game, you're crafting resources, you're farming resources, but what do you do with those resources? What do you do with them? You just turn them into the task board right now, right? And it's not actually very compelling gameplay. We know it. You guys know it. And rather than basically doing this like meandering feature strategy where we just keep building and adding on to the new game, we're going to narrow in the team's focus and try to rush towards completing end game loops as quick as we can. So that means chapter 3 and adding in like elements of either PvE or some kind of competitive gameplay in the end game loop where you basically have a more compelling reason to use the end game resources. So it's a bit of a different strategy, right? And what this also means is we're going to be focusing a little more heavily on actually fixing the game to work in the long run rather than some of these shorter term updates. Now, again, the team's focus will be in 2 areas. We're still going to be doing some of these like live game updates. It's not going to stop. Like the ideal situation if you still get weekly updates, and actually we have that team moving quicker than we were before. one of the best examples of recently a feature that users loved was the Easter quest, for example. And that was so low lift, to be honest. The team can pump that kind of stuff out way quicker. And it doesn't even need that many resources, right? Some of the strategic things that we maybe have done wrong over the last year was kind of focusing on features that help support the current game loop as is, but weren't actually fixing the core issues. So a good example would be like that merchant ships feature, right? Like it's a good supporting loop, but it's actually one of those features that isn't fixing the core issue of where the game is at, which is like we need better end game. So some of those features actually might take a little bit of back burner until we fix the core game loop and actually add in more compelling end game and make the game feel like a complete game. And then we'll still keep going and doing some of these like smaller features too. And then what the team will also be focusing on as well is like getting a little bit more data driven on the types of features that we do in the short term, right? We get a lot of feedback from a lot of different types of users. People sometimes say we're not listening to feedback and users, but we actually just get like thousands of comments a day on what we should do, right? So we listen to some things and we listen to, and there's like a bunch of different priorities that we have. The team's going to get a little bit more data driven on what exactly these features are, the right types of users that we want to be building for. And in the short term, when we think about live game, like that'll be kind of what we're oriented around. Easter Quest is a great example of a feature that just got so much engagement where it's a no-brainer. We should be doing more stuff like that. And we've also actually kind of added a team that will be focused on more quests like this that do narrative and lore and all this kind of stuff too.
Okay, while we're on topic, should I quickly show some of the like winners from the event we did?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you guys probably saw, I hope you saw, we've run a few little contests throughout the event too, which has been really fun. So the first one was decorating an Easter egg. So Silver Wing, shout out to her. She ran this and provided this cute little image and asked you guys to design them out. And then on her stream, she chose winners and they were going to win these avatars. So I just thought I'd show you guys the winners because they're insane. We have the most incredible artists in our community. So hold on, I'm so zoomed in here. Look at that. Oh, I'm not sharing it, of course. Look at that. That's amazing. Beautiful. So this one is, I'm not going to say the names because I'm going to butcher them, but shout out to this user. Amazing. And then look at how cute that art is. Incredible pixel artist. If you actually made this, you should make UGC because, oh, I'm not sharing my screen again. I'm sorry. Incredible. If you're an amazing pixel artist, you should be making UGC if you're not already. I love this. People are saying that you're not seeing. Are you not seeing the bunny?
I see it.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then the last winner was this one, which I saw when it was first posted and I was like jaw dropped. So incredible. So I know we were only going to pick 2. Silverwing picked 3 and then gave away one of her own NFTs, which is just above and beyond. She did not need to do that. So shout out to her. We love this and just love when community members like run fun events like this. And so we, you've probably seen, we've started doing it more often. It's just so much fun to do little fun things like this. So we have one more event related to Easter running, one more giveaway, which I just posted yesterday. So how many eggs do you guys think were actually collected throughout the entire game, the entire week? Go comment your best guess on this post. And then, I don't know, maybe tomorrow we'll run through the comments and whoever has closest to the real number will win this little bunny avatar here. I know I tweeted this and I think it triggered people to think that that was a real number. So some people have been posting very high numbers. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not 45 million. I don't know the exact number, but it's not 45 million. But yeah, there's tons and tons of entries. This is going to take us ages to go through. But yeah, go enter the contest now if you want to win this fun little bunny avatar. Okay. Oh yeah, someone's asking Luke. Luke has no idea how many it was. Okay, so Only a dev and me have like a decent. I only know kind of because I asked on the last day how many there were. So by the end of the day, I don't know how many more were added. Especially there were a lot of people with like 149. Anyways, if you guys liked this quest, we actually have a very similar quest coming out very soon. So stay tuned for that. It's with a partnership. If you guys remember, we launched some huge announcement a few weeks ago. You guys remember who we're partnering with? Massive announcement. Anyways, we're going to do a little theme quest with them. All right. Do you want to keep going through your tweet here? We covered most of it, right?
Yeah, no, so a couple things. Still, let's see what else. Okay, yeah. So when it comes to some of the live game updates that we'll be doing too, some of the stuff that we're working on also is some engine enhancements and improvements. Like for example, the Easter quest is great, but there might be some more compelling and interesting ways that we can actually do some in-game quests like this as well. And that's some of what we're unlocking right now as well too. So we have a team that's kind of going out and exploring what are new engine unlocks that we can have. And what you're going to start to see inside of the next few live game updates is more types of UGC content that are also going to be able to use in core game mechanics and in quests like this. Like for example, it's not redstone per se, but we're actually introducing more UGC mechanics that kind of look like redstone from Minecraft, if you understand what that means. We're basically like, you might be able to add elements on your farms that have like logic gates and like teleport pads and other things like this too, which we're going to be able to use for any of these quests that we build out with narrative lore as well. And we're actually going to give you some of those functionalities inside of your own farms as well too, so that you guys can go and create some of your own mini games as well. How we approach these types of features are, what are some features that we can unlock for you guys that also help us when we want to go out and build like more compelling in-game mechanics for the live game stuff. And we actually might even be able to use some of these features for mechanics that we use in chapter 3 as well too. So yeah, there will be more like Habbo style components inside of the game in the short term as well. That's kind of the idea. So expect some of those coming into, like, basically when we talk about gameplay in core pixels, there's two things that we're working on. We want to get a little bit back to our roots of what actually made us competitive towards like any other game inside of Web3. And what a lot of people loved about Pixels in the early stages was how social it was, like some of the UGC components, and some of the like fun features of it. And also, we need to focus on completing the end game loops as quick as we can. And we don't have to sacrifice those two, but it does maybe mean sacrificing some of the other types of features that we've been working on. Like, I don't think it makes sense for us to release another feature like merchant ships until we have compelling end game features, for example. But there might be some fun features that we can add in the short term that still move the needle a little bit on the live game side. Like, we might have a better leaderboard system coming out, right? And when we talk about leaderboards, that would be kind of like daily, weekly, monthly leaderboards that kind of switch up and are new, for example. So yeah, that's kind of the idea there.
There's so much talk in our chat right now about pixel dungeons, and it's so polarizing.
Yeah, we'll
People
talk about
love it or they hate it. I kind of laughed at a few comments here, like they're saying like, tell them to cancel it and just work on the farm. It's like a completely different team. Like that's not happening. But then I also enjoyed this one because this is my opinion, because I think Pixel Dungeons is so much fun to play, but I'm terrible at it. So maybe it's just a get good moment. But then someone asked another question. Yeah, this one.
Yeah, so actually what I'll say is, so there was a month there where Pixel Dungeons was giving out much more rewards than Core Pixels. When it came to like return on reward spend. One of the metrics that we talk about a lot, and this is actually still the most important metric inside of the game, is return on reward spend, right? What we're trying to build here at Pixels is we're trying to build a game that sticks around for years and years and years, right? And to be honest and to be transparent, like, we need to build a game that generates more revenue than the rewards that we give out, right? If we actually can't do that, then none of this ever works in the long run. So somebody even said, here, this is like another thing too. I'll bring up that other comment too. Give me one reason to continue to play this game when you don't earn any pixels. what's PDE in pixels when you don't earn any pixels. So number one, I am still a huge believer in play to earn. We're not changing any of that up. But what we've always said about play to earn is not everybody can earn, right? And it's actually really important to make sure that we're giving out earnings to people who actually want to be in the ecosystem in the long term and who actually want to like help pixels too. Like kind of how I view this is like we should view ourselves as a team, like us players and like everybody who like holds in the ecosystem inside of the game too. Like Pixel's the core team here. We're just contributors to the ecosystem in the same way that you guys are also. Like Pixel, the whole token is a network, right? And the network's goal is to basically like grow the network and ecosystem to be as big and great as possible. And how does the network grow, right? Well, one, the network needs great games inside of the ecosystem. So, core pixels being better and us contributing to the core pixels, that helps make the ecosystem better, right? If the game is fun, if like people are using the pixel token more, like that's a great network contribution that we can do. Like we're just like you guys though. Like we are just one contributor to the ecosystem, and you guys as players are also, right? So for us, for the core team, right? The core team is given some incentives to go out and like help contribute with network growth. And like our goal as core team is to go out and like help build the game and the ecosystem to make sure that like there's more contributors coming into the ecosystem too. But you as a player, you're also kind of a contributor as well. So we want to give rewards to people who help grow the ecosystem. And what that means is we want people to stay in the ecosystem and be incentivized to help the ecosystem grow in the long run. You just playing the game is contributing to the ecosystem. But a player who is playing the game and just like immediately selling the token all the time, there's still some validity to that. There's ways they can contribute to the ecosystem, right? But if their only intention is basically to like earn and then leave the game when rewards start to dry up, then that's actually like not the right long-term user that we're trying to attract either, right? Like we want to attract users who love the game, who love the vision of pixels, and who want to be here in the long run. So there's a few things that we do with that, right? This is partly why we're introducing this app token concept and why we're also adding in like new mechanics to help facilitate this as well too. And this has also always been the idea behind smart rewards, right? Smart rewards are right in the right direction, but you can't just have the smart rewards. You also need to introduce things like this farmer fee and staking and like this app token concept in order to achieve this as well. So again, one reason to play the game when you don't earn any pixel is you like the game, right? And again, if you don't like the game just for the game itself, that's actually a big issue when it comes to like the contributions that we've made to the ecosystem, right? And one of the core issues with the game right now is truthfully, without the earnings, there are some fun things to do inside of the game. The earnings are the most fun part of the game. And that's not a wrong part. Like, right? Like that is a value add of playing a Web3 game. Earnings make the game more fun. Basically, earnings add stakes to every single decision that you make inside of the game because the decisions that you make matter much, much more when there is earnings on the line, right? But also at the same time, if we actually want this to fundamentally work, the earnings should be a boost on top of the core gameplay as well. If the earnings are the only thing that attract an audience, and there's also no elements of risk, like I think Cambria is doing a great job with adding elements of risk on top of their core game loop or like more compelling end game like that, then it's not going to fundamentally work, right? So the key reason that you should be playing Pixels is a combination of because you like the game, because the game is good, because there's elements of like the Web3 parts that you like and the earnings too. But if it's only the earnings that matter to you, then one, we've been failing, or two, we've been targeting the earnings wrong, or three, the game isn't good enough. So again, that's part of the strategy that we're working on with rushing to complete core game loops. I'm going to be pausing some of the other types of feature work that we've been doing that have not been really addressing that core issue and making the game as good as possible. So team's primary focus is basically the sprint to make the game more complete at the end of the life cycle of the game. Basically, when I say end game, I think it's a confusing thing because it's like very industry jargon. But end game, what that means is what do you do inside of the game? Well, how do you play the game when you're like high level and when you've been playing the game for a long time, right? When you first start the game, it's kind of obvious what you should do. You should like start to level up. You should progress through the game. You should like start to unlock more types of crafting, more recipes, all of this. But then what do you do when you've been playing the game for a year? You just keep doing task work right now. And that's a fundamental issue with the game that we need to address immediately, basically.
Okay, wait. Inverted Dungeons. Guys, what is this? I saw them promoting it and I haven't had a chance to check it out. What is it? Is it like, I was thinking it was, you could only run on the lava or something? What is it? Please tell me. Or I go play it later.
This is a good comment. I just want to farm like there's no tomorrow. I don't care about money. I only want to farm. It was so fun till you killed it. Yeah, so this is an issue with the tier 3 and the tier 4 single-use soils. We agree. This actually makes the game much less fun on how farming works right now. And we're coming out with a fix for that. I think the idea is basically when crops are ready to be harvested, they'll just drop. And then you'll be able to still plant something if it's empty and open. And then I think there might be a Quicksilver integration onto some of the farmland too. But I would agree. It's a farming game and you can't even find plots to farm on right now. That's a huge issue. So there's still going to be some live game updates that address these kinds of things. And this is the kind of feedback that's actually super important. It's kind of crazy how the system works right now. I agree. We had to do a bunch of anti-bot features because, again, if the bother, like you guys see it now, we actually basically killed almost every bot when we introduced the VIP gating to the marketplace. This did dip DAU, and this actually probably did churn a lot of free-to-play users. It was a tough decision to make, but we think it was a necessary one in the short term. Eventually, what we can start to do is we can maybe start to be a little easier on the requirements for core game features from VIP when we get some of these other systems out. But in the short term, we had to basically do this to make the game experience cater towards real users more and to fix some of these economic issues while we actually get some of the better long-term strategies in place. And then, yeah, this is a key game issue right now too. The fact you literally can't farm the tier 3 and the tier 4 resources if you want to. And believe me, we're working on that one.
This is cute. We love you guys too. We love, like, you know, great comments, questions. It's awesome.
So this is also another issue, playing the game for a year and still can't use marketplace. Yeah, so what I will say is like having VIP gating of the marketplace is kind of a short-term band-aid solution. When we start to go back into growth mode, when we start to grow core DAU, and like players of, like, essentially what we want to do is we want to start to curate an audience of players that actually care about the game more and who, you know, have been playing free to play and want to use things like the marketplace more and more. There does need to be a better path to access these things. So reputation is also getting looked at again, and we're trying to figure out more ways that we can give reputation to real users quicker. Events are going to be a way that we do that. But then also there's other things that we can do as well too. Like one thing that we talked about was adding optional KYC. For example, if you wanted to increase your reputation really quickly and you didn't want to buy VIP, maybe that's one thing that we can do. We've also talked about sex account connections. So what's cool about Web3 is you probably have already actually KYC'd somewhere, and we don't really necessarily, I don't want to hold anyone's KYC data. That sounds like a data nightmare. Yeah, and you've already done that in a bunch of other Web3 product experiences. Like if you have a Binance account, you've already had to do that, right? I don't need to know any of your personal information. I don't want to hold that. Like even if we add optional KYC into the game, we would work with a partner to do it. Like we don't want anything to do with that data. But because of that, if you already have KYC'd somewhere, like for example, in Binance, we already know that you're like much higher likelihood of a real user. There is some KYC fraud in even places like Binance, which is crazy. And like you can even, if you really were motivated, you can go and buy a Binance account. But it's enough of a barrier where we know if you have a Binance account or a Coinbase account or something like that, there is a much more higher likelihood and chance that you're a real player and a real person, where even just that, we can probably give you reputation, for example, where you wouldn't have to do any KYC. You just connect an account that you already have that we know is KYC'd already, and boom, reputation. So we're going to be doing some stuff like that also.
Okay. We have like 5 more minutes. If there's anything specific you wanted to cover before the end. Oh, wait. Chicken Pet just explained what inverted dungeons is. Totally wrong from what I thought. So you start out slow and you need to mine diamonds, vPixel to increase your walking speed. I'm going to go play that. That sounds like I'm going to be terrible at it.
Somebody asked about this. The income from Pixel Dungeons is much more than Pixel Farm. What will you do to balance this? Actually, Pixel Dungeons, they were giving out a lot of rewards a month or two ago when they were trying to experiment with like some earnings inside of the game. They actually have kind of fixed some of that. The return on reward spent in Pixel Dungeons for this month is actually better than Core Pixels. So they're actually performing better than Core Pixels this month when it comes to monetizing and like, you know, treating the token properly. They also don't get nearly as much pixel to give out to users as Core Pixels does. They have a budget of like transparently like 2 million pixel a month of rewards to give out. So the actual like sell pressure net from Pixel Dungeons is one, lower than Core Pixels, and also much, much less. So it actually is, if you're good at the game, an interesting way to get earnings if you want, right? Rather than playing Core Pixels. I think what you're missing is like, yeah, the income from Pixel Dungeons for some people is better. But if you're bad at the game, you're probably not earning as much, right? And then, yeah, the interesting part too is like, I know some people saw that Pixel Dungeons was getting some bots in the free to play. And if you're just a free to play player, you might see them. But in the high stakes, which is actually where most of the rewards and most of the spend goes, very hard to bot that one. And there wasn't really any bot activity there. And then we've also helped them introduce some anti-bot features as well, with some of the fingerprinting tech that we've been doing. So they're doing a lot better there. Here's something. In my opinion, their plan is evil. They are giving staking land boosts because they know free to play won't stake and they need spenders to pump the token while they dump. So, I mean, you can look at on-chain data on who is selling the token. Again, we moved all team, all investor, and all advisor tokens on-chain into vesting contracts, right? And actually, every single token was accounted for. There was actually nothing shady that got done pre-unlocks, which is truthfully not industry standard. What Web3 is tricky because a lot of teams actually have scammed a lot of users, and they haven't been honest about a lot of this stuff. Like, no, I don't think there's many other teams that actually put their vesting on chain because they actually don't have the tokens to do that because they did some shady stuff. Every single token was accounted for from team, advisors, investors on chain. You can go and look at it on vesting contracts, and you can even see like how much is getting sold. It's actually, yeah, there's nothing that we're ashamed of there is what I'll say. And then when we say, here's part of the comment too, they're giving land boost because they know free to play won't stake. I mean, so again, this is actually an important part, right? Yes, the intention is we want to give out more tokens to people who are more willing to use them inside of the game. Like, that's actually the strategic change, right? And like we said, we actually think that some people might not like that. But again, when we think about the network and the ecosystem incentives, right? We actually want to start to curate a player base who actually wants to use the token in the game and who love the game more. That's healthier for the ecosystem, right? Yeah, when we started looking into the data, they were like, basically every single token given out in game is getting swapped. And again, it's not necessarily an issue, right? But what we do want to do is we want to start rewarding the players who actually want to be using the token inside of the game more. It is a strategic change. But again, with a farmer fee, if you still want that immediate liquidity, you can go and basically take out the token in the form of normal pixel. There's going to be a farmer fee paid, and we're going to be distributing the farmer fee back to stakers, the people who want to hold the token more too. So again, we just want like a little bit more of a long-term interest and alignment with players in game, because that's actually what we need to do to actually make the game work in the long run. Like, we're here for the next 5 years, right? 7 years longer, hopefully. Hopefully Pixels stays around forever and becomes what we want it to be, right? So we want, we have a long-term outlook here, right? Like, we're core contributors to this Pixel ecosystem, and we want to make sure that core Pixels is around forever and the Pixel ecosystem is around forever too. And we want players who also have that same mindset as well, right? So this is part of being Web3, right? Like, if we give you ownership, we want people to be good stewards of the ownership also, right? And that's the cool part, where this is not something that can happen inside of a Web2 game, right? All of our players, you are core contributors to the Pixel network and the Pixel ecosystem, right? And imagine core contributors just like leaving and like dumping all their tokens. That's not a good look, right? So it's also important that players kind of have that same mindset too, when it comes to earnings, incentives, all of this as well. And that's actually going to protect the people that love the game most as well too. So the ideal situation is basically we have players who, love the game, want to use their tokens and get rewarded for that.
Exactly. Okay, cool. I think we can wrap it up there then. This has been a good, very like intense, but like really good AMA. So thank you all for your questions. We've got a lot going on. So yeah, make sure you check out Luke's tweet if maybe you got a little lost, or like if you have any questions, comment on it. Hop in Discord, we can chat. And yeah, with that,
Yeah.
was there one last thing you wanted to bring up there?
Comments, because like I want to close on this. Getting bored with Pixel's game mechanics right now. Yeah, we agree. The game needs to get more interesting for all of us to work in the long run. So again, team focus here is we want to basically make systems that align players and game better. And we also want to make sure that the game actually gets into a spot where it can be competitive against Web2 games too. So in order to do that, team focus is going to shift heavily to making sure that the core game loops are complete and that we basically add more interesting things to do for the long-term players. So that's the idea.
Amazing. Cool. All right. With that, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you all for all of your questions, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.